Only months after Pearl Harbor, Japan believed it was unstoppable. Its navy had shocked the world. American battleships burned in Hawaii, and Japanese forces expanded rapidly into the Pacific. Philippines, Singapore, Hong Kong, large parts of Southeast Asia. Victory after victory seemed to confirm something Japanese leaders desperately wanted to believe: that Japan could dominate the Pacific before America could fully mobilize. But underneath these victories, a dangerous problem remained. The United States was still fighting. And most importantly, America's aircraft carriers had survived Pearl Harbor. And for Japan, this was unacceptable, because aircraft carriers were becoming most powerful weapons in the modern history. And Japanese leaders understood something very dangerous. If American carriers still remain active, the war can eventually turn against Japan. So only months after Pearl Harbor, Japan launched another big operation. An operation designed to destroy American carriers once and for all. The target was a tiny island in the Pacific Ocean, Midway. At first, the Midway doesn't seem to be important. It was a small, isolated island in the middle of nowhere. But strategically, it mattered enormously. The island sat in a critical position in the Pacific, and Japanese planners believed that by attacking Midway, they can force the United States Navy into a trap. The plan looked powerful on paper. Japan would strike the island, America would forward their carriers to defeat it. Then the Japanese fleet would ambush and destroy them. If successful, Japan could gain even greater control over the Pacific and maybe force America into a weaker strategic position until the American industry awaken. But there was one major problem with these plans. Americans already knew the details of the plan. Before the battle even began, the American intelligence achieved one of the most important breakthroughs of the war. US codebreakers had partially cracked the Japanese communication, and this allowed the American commanders to predict that the Midway was the target. And suddenly, the entire situation had changed. Instead of sailing blindly into the trap, the Americans started to prepare its own ambush. Aircraft carriers moved into position, and pilots prepared for the battle. Naval commanders waited quietly across the Pacific Ocean. Meanwhile, Japan still believed it held the advantage. Its navy was experienced, its pilots were heavily trained, and of course, after months of victories, the Japanese was extremely confident. But as we know, confidence can become dangerous, especially in the war. The battle began in 1942. The Japanese aircraft attacked the Midway Island. Bombs exploded over the base and smoke filled the air. Aircraft launched from both sides. At first, battle seemed to follow Japan's plan. But then, confusion began spreading through the Japanese fleet. And Japanese commanders now faced a difficult decision. Should they prepare another strike against Midway, or they should quickly arm aircraft with anti-ship weapons, in case American carriers appeared? And this situation created chaos on Japanese aircraft. Bombs were moved, fuel lines remained active. Aircraft were rearmed in crowded flight decks. And at the exact same time, American aircraft was desperately searching for the Japanese fleet. The battle soon became chaotic. American torpedo bombers attacked first. The attack went terribly. Many American aircrafts were destroyed. Pilots died in enormous numbers. Some squadrons were nearly wiped out completely. And at first, it looked like disaster for the United States. But these attacks created an unexpected opportunity. Japanese fighter aircraft were pulled down toward low altitude. Japanese formation became disorganized, and Japanese carriers remained vulnerable. And then American dive bombers suddenly appeared above the Japanese fleet. For only a minute, the Japanese carriers were exposed. Their decks were crowded with fueled aircraft. Bombs and ammunition were scattered across the ships. It was one of the most dangerous moments possible for the carriers, and the Americans arrived exactly at the right time. Bombs crashed into Japanese carriers, explosions spread rapidly. Fire consumed entire flight decks. Within minutes, Japanese carriers were burning catastrophically. Smoke filled the sky above the Pacific Ocean. the day became the night. The battle that Japan hoped would destroy the American naval power was now destroying Japan's force carrier instead. The shock was enormous. Japan lost 4 major carriers during the battle. Some of the most experienced Japanese pilots were now gone forever. And unlike the United States, Japan struggled to replace those losses. This was one of the most important differences between these two countries. New ships could be built, new aircrafts could be produced, new pilots could eventually be trained. But Japan had far fewer resources. Its industrial capacity was limited, its access to oil remained fragile, and experienced Navy aviator was extremely difficult to replace. Midway battle exposed a terrifying reality for Japan. The war would not be short, and in a long war, America possessed overwhelming advantages. After Midway, the Japan was still very dangerous. The war continued for years, and the Japanese soldiers continued fighting fiercely across the Pacific. But strategically, something had changed. Before Midway, Japan often controlled the momentum of the war. After Midway, that momentum slowly began shifting to the United States. American industry production accelerated. New ships entered the Pacific constantly. American submarines attacked Japanese shipping routes. Fuel shortages became increasingly severe. And slowly, Japan's empire became harder and harder to defend. The Pacific Ocean was enormous. Supply lanes stretched across enormous distances. Ships became vulnerable. Aircraft losses increased. And over time, Japan began losing the ability to sustain a modern industrial war. This is why many historians view Midway as one of the most important turning points in the World War II. The battle did not immediately end the war, but it shattered the illusion that Japan was unstoppable. Pearl Harbor had demonstrated Japan's strength, but the Midway demonstrated its limits. The battle exposed how vulnerable Japan was in a long industrial conflict against the United States. And once those losses began accumulating, Japan struggled more and more to recover. In many years, Pearl Harbor and the Battle of the Midway became deeply connected. Pearl Harbor brought America fully into the war. Midway gave America the opportunity to control it. Japan increasingly faced an opponent with greater industry, greater resources, and a far larger ability to continue the industrial war. An opponent that was capable of fighting for years. Exactly the kind of war Japan had hoped to avoid from the very beginning of the war. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe for more cinematic history documentaries about the history, battle, and turning points that changed the world forever.